Hello and welcome to the ID Talk podcast. My name is Peter Counter and I am the editor-in-chief of FindBiometrics, where we are reporting live from Money2020 in Las Vegas. Our own Doug OGorden was on the exhibition floor this week interviewing identity and biometrics experts, and so on this special mini episode of the ID Talk podcast, I am pleased to present his conversation with Christina Luttrell, CEO of IDology. Luttrell tells us what makes IDology stand apart in the incredibly active identity verification and anti-fraud landscape, delving into the unique predictive aspects of her company's technology and underlining the importance of transparency and privacy when it comes to authentication and identification. She's a person with a passion for fighting fraud, and that comes through in this interview. So without further ado, here is IDology's CEO, Christina Luttrell, in conversation with FindBiometrics' Doug OGorden, reporting directly from Money2020.
Hi, FindBiometrics listeners. I'm here with Chris Luttrell, CEO of IDology, and we're live at Money2020 in Las Vegas. Chris, tell me a little bit about IDology.
Well, thank you, Doug. It is great to be here, and we're very excited to be here at Money2020. We've actually been coming to Money2020 since the very first year that this conference existed. So let me tell you a little bit about IDology. We are located in Atlanta, Georgia. We have been in business for over 15 years now, and we provide identity verification and fraud prevention tools to a lot of the businesses that are here today. So anywhere that you need to validate a consumer, maybe they're not present, they're transacting online, that's where we really excel. And we know that in the past, especially in the past 20 months since the beginning of the pandemic, so many businesses had to move digital. So many consumers had to go digital with banking. People that my mom, for example, never banked online, right? Now she's banking online. So there was such a huge shift to digital over the past year and a half that our services exploded even more, with people coming to us asking, hey, we need you to be a part of our onboarding process to validate that the consumers that are coming in to set up accounts really are who they claim to be. And so we take kind of a different approach to identity in that you can't there's not like just a one-size-fits-all product or function that can make it all happen and bring it all together. First off, you've got KYC, CIP requirements that are the regulatory requirements for opening up a financial account. That's kind of basic stuff, and anybody can do that. So we kind of took the approach years ago that also, because of all the data breaches that have occurred, that your data and my data, all of our data has been breached anyway. So it's not enough just to go and match data and say, yes, this is Doug or this is Chris, right? Like this is the right person. You have to add layers of authentication and verification on top of that. So looking at other trends or other attributes of the identity beyond just matching attributes, activity, behaviors, things like that go into it. And then really a lot of what you'll hear in this space that we work in is about step-up authentication, escalation, really being able to prove that someone is who they claim to be. And we do all of that, but our sole focus is to try to onboard consumers as quickly as possible with as little friction as possible. So, no friction. And we will, so if we can onboard consumers without any friction, and they are really who they claim to be, then what does that do? That drives revenue for our customers, right? So you'll also hear us talk a lot about fraud. I am very passionate about fighting fraud. It's something I've done for a long, long time. And fraud is very, very important. But at the end of the day, what really matters is that we're helping our customers grow their revenue base and their customer base with good, legitimate consumers.
I know it's only been a day. The show's been going on for a day, but
yeah.
What's the highlight that have you seen anything interesting or?
Yeah, I haven't had a chance to walk the floor yet, but I'm very excited about doing that because as a product person by heart, I still love to go around and look, and it kind of spurs new ideas that I can take back to our product team and say, hey, have you thought about this? Or here's a new vendor we might can bring in for some new data points. I love doing that. And of course, we have so many customers here. I love seeing our customers.
Sure.
I love meeting with our customers. And I hope I don't hug people too much.
The identity market is booming.
It is.
What does it take to stand out in such an active landscape?
Really what it takes to stand out, you got to have a great product. That's core. You have to have a solid product that is going to perform the way that you say it's going to perform. So you got to start with this great product. You also have to be very transparent. And that's something that you would see in a lot of our marketing is about transparency, making sure that you truly understand why someone got through, why someone was able to onboard versus not onboard in their account. And so for me, that's always been something that's been very important to me. I seriously loathe black box type scoring solutions, things like that, to where you don't really know why something passed or failed. If you're standing in front of a regulator and you're having to answer questions for why you let a person in or why you decline them, you need to know exactly why. You can't talk to them about some ambiguous score and say, well, I don't know, my identity vendor won't tell me what this means, right? With IDology, you are always going to know. We're always going to be transparent with you, always honest about what our product does and and also what it doesn't do, right?
Sure.
So those are things that I think are really important to stand out.
Good segue into the next question. Is IDology's Expect ID technology is unique in its multi-layered approach to ID verification, which includes predictive identity verification. Can you expand a little bit on the predictive element of that solution?
Yeah, that's a great question, and it honestly comes from many, many years of just understanding identity and fraud. The way that we kind of layer all the solutions around our Expect ID product and have the different layers of verification, we have this knowledge now to where we know if we see certain attributes, our fraud lead is here today too, but if you see certain attributes that are occurring on an identity, then we know because of all of the years of experience that we have combined that that's going to be fraud, or it's okay to let this person in. There's so much experience that goes into this, and with the predictive part of that, we're also deploying things in our system, algorithms in our system that are continuously learning. You know, the buzzwords, machine learning, AI, but we have algorithms that are continuously learning, and we're getting feedback from our customers, and we're getting feedback from our fraud teams and from our onboarding teams, our product teams, to say, okay, this is good, this is bad, and that allows us to, as more customers come in to use the product, that allows us to give them a better confidence in who we're onboarding for them.
Great. Given the increasingly sensitive discussion around data privacy in the wake of continued data breaches and the maturing regulatory landscape, what are ways IDology is protecting user privacy?
This is another thing I'm insanely passionate about, is protecting privacy, consumer data, consumer privacy. The approach that we take with protecting that data is we don't keep that data. We are looking at data points long enough to complete transactions, and then we're moving on from that. We're not storing up and amassing databases of consumer PII. Mm-hmm. It is so incredibly important that companies, a lot of the data breaches that have occurred in the past, that a good percentage of those, a majority of those, the data wasn't even encrypted. I mean, it's just like you have to have strong encryption standards. You have to, don't hold on to this sensitive PII. Only keep it long enough to do what you need to do with the transaction and move on from that. I myself had my identity stolen last year for unemployment. So someone in Detroit, Michigan was getting an unemployment check with my name on it.
Same thing happened to me.
Did it really?
Yeah.
So I tell you, and that had never happened to me. In all my years of identity, that had never happened to me. So it honestly gave me even more perspective into how painful it is for someone's identity to be stolen and how much it takes to clear that up. And I don't want anybody else to have to go through that. So that's
Maybe
my
it's
passion.
good that happened to you.
It
You
is.
have a
That's my
case study.
fight. I do. That's my fight. I want to make sure that we are protecting consumers' IDs.
Sure. All right, last question. It's kind of a question we want to ask for our own purpose. Is we're working on our 19th annual year in review.
Yeah.
Could you share with us any success stories you've had or things you could share about your 2021 and any, I call them home runs, that maybe you had with a customer?
Well, I can tell you that we, in the past 20 months, I always reference the pandemic because we experienced just, I can't even describe the growth that we experienced with more customers going online. The things that I'm really, really proud of, there's two things that there's a lot of things I'm proud of, but two things that come to mind. One is we played a huge role in helping people get their stimulus in their the PPP program and small business loans. We played a huge part in that in keeping the economy moving, right?
Sure.
We've played a huge part in helping people file their tax returns and do that in a secure way. I'm very proud of that because that, when there's fraud in tax, you and I pay for that as taxpayers, right?
Right. In the long run.
Yeah. And then the other thing that I'm really proud of is we also were a part of helping people get access to their COVID test results. So being able to log into a portal to see if you tested positive or negative for COVID. Such an emotional thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we facilitated that with many of our clients that we work with. And those are things that just make me so proud because, with all the bad stuff that has been going on since the beginning of the pandemic, I can look back at that and say...
You're helping the bad stuff go away.
We're helping the bad stuff go away, and that makes me so incredibly proud.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, it's been fun. What's the best way for our listeners to get a hold of IDology or yourself?
Yeah. So IDology, we have a website that you can go to get more information. It's IDology.com, IDOLOGY.com. I'm on LinkedIn. Folks can look me up there. I think I'm under Christina Luttrell on LinkedIn, so that's fine. But yeah, look me up, connect. I'm happy to talk to anybody.
Great.
I will. You obviously know now I like to talk. So
yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah,
it's been
thank
fun.
you. All right, have a great show.
You too.
Thanks.
And so concludes our interview with Christina Luttrell, CEO of IDology. To learn more about the topics discussed in this podcast, please visit IDology.com. And for everything else at the intersection of identity and finance, stay posted to FindBiometrics.com. Thank you, Christina, for joining us on the podcast, and thank you to Doug OGorden for conducting the interview. Our podcast theme music is by Logomrad. Until next time, thank you for listening to the ID Talk podcast.